Okay, and now our final round is going to be a quick 3-minute statement from each of our panelists summarizing their perspective on the talks we've just had. So we'll start with Jeff.
Well, first I want to thank Bruce for a good spirited debate. I guess I would just sum up my position as follows. To me, it is often, you look at, take Bernard Lewis, foremost historian of the Middle East. What he's been trying to warn us now for decades is that now there is a radicalized element within the Muslim world that encompasses about 100 to 150 million people. It is a global threat. It is a global network. It believes in a universalist ideology. It is a political, religious movement that seeks to erect a world Muslim empire based on Sharia law. We are fighting them in almost every corner of the globe. Does it mean American troops have to be everywhere? No. It means we have to target our response specifically to what is the greatest threat in the areas of the world where our interests are most paramount. We now are about a year to 2 years away from the Hitler of our time, Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. 70 million people on the verge of acquiring a nuclear bomb backed with some of the world's biggest oil and natural gas resources. He has vowed to wipe the Jews of Israel off the map. He openly denies the Holocaust. He has called for a jihad against the United States. The founder of that regime, Ayatollah Khomeini, a respected cleric among many Shiite radicals, somebody who studied the Quran and Muslim sayings, the Hadith, all of his life, said, this regime must create a global Islamic empire, and our great enemy is America. Our mission is to destroy not only Israel, but America. He is now trying to fulfill that destiny that he believes he has been set on this earth for. This is a kind of madman. He is not a rational person. This is where Bruce and I fundamentally disagree. The jihadists that we're fighting in Afghanistan and Pakistan, that are there in Yemen, in Somalia, in Sudan, in Iran, all over, are not rational people with limited aims. They don't want Arabia for the Arabs. Read the radical Muslim websites. I do. They call for a return to a global caliphate. They claim Italy. They claim France. They claim England. They claim large parts of the globe. And they understand there's only one bastion of Western civilization left. My friends, that's us. There's no one left. Communist China is on the rise. Putin's Russia has now become an energy superpower. Radical Islam is on the march. If we do not defend freedom and democracy, if we do not defend Western civilization, who will? Now, it's easy to poo-poo the Cold War. I'm sorry, but an empire that murdered hundreds of millions of people, that literally occupied not only the Soviet Union, but half of Eastern Europe, all of Red China, that was spreading across the world. No, we weren't going to fight them in Washington, maybe eventually 50 to 100 years, but the point is eventually a totalitarian power that expands and expands and expands leaves you more and more limited, more and more vulnerable, more and more threatened. If we allow the radical Muslim world to achieve an historic victory in Afghanistan and Iraq, to defeat America, believe me, it'll make the travesty of Vietnam seem pale in comparison.
Okay, and now Bruce.
Yeah, the travesty in Vietnam was fighting in the first instance and having 55,000 people die. They didn't have any Gettysburg Address written after them. This wasn't a new birth of freedom, government of the people, by the people, for the people. They died and they were insignificant, and we read their names on the wall. That's the tragedy, the magnifying the danger, so we send men and women abroad to fight for causes that we can't even define. Talk about obscene. We now have a situation, ladies and gentlemen, in Afghanistan, where we're sending men and women to die, and they're asked, what's victory, sir? And our answer is, we don't know. We don't even know what the benchmarks of victory are. We say, like obscenity, we'll know it when we see it. That's how vague and unknowing this projection of military force abroad is, by suggesting that in radical Islam, they make all these claims. But the issue is not whether they're crazy making claims. Is there anything that suggests that they have got a danger that crosses the threshold of war? It reminds me a little bit of an exchange in Richard II between Hotspur and Glendower. Glendower says, what? I can call demons from the vasty deeps and destroy the world. And Hotspur returns, well, so can I. So can any fool. But will they come when you do call for them? Now, that's what he was asking about. And sure, I have no doubt you can read on the websites these demented people. But as Donald Rumsfeld said the day after 9/11, if we stoop to their tactics, we have lost. And that's the danger that we have, destroying our own due process and our own freedoms abroad. Now, Jeff says, well, he doesn't want the United States to go everywhere, only in the places where it's really dangerous. But what does he start to list? There's all the places, the Philippines, Indonesia, Sudan, Nigeria, I mean, everywhere. There isn't any stopping point. And who's going to say that these jihadist Muslims can't go anywhere in the world? Of course they can. And that's why the military would traipse after them. Moreover, it seems to me counterintuitive. All these other places in Europe threatened with radical Islam as well. Only the United States now has said, we have a war architecture to fight them. In Great Britain, you don't have a war regime. In France, you don't have a war regime. They prosecute these people as criminals, prosecute them with a criminal justice system. The United States is the one that has adopted the criminal architecture of war. And look, they are the ones that are all going to be destroyed by radical Islam. Who's got the most troops in Afghanistan? Pakistan, the United States, not them. We have to beg them, please, send a few more troops. They don't get on the front line. They maybe do some training, but they're not combat troops because they don't perceive that danger that we do. This is despite the fact that their defenses compared to ours are minuscule. You know, we run a defense establishment of $1 trillion a year with defense and nuclear weapons and intelligence collection. And now you read from the Washington Post, 1,200 agencies involved in intelligence collection, 2,000 private contractors, and the head of the U.S. command saying in 4.5 years, I haven't got a shred of information that's been useful whatsoever. Which shows, again, the magnification of the danger. And I don't want at all downplay the fact that terrorists are criminals. They're terrible people. And you get evidence, you get conspiracy, you prosecute them, you throw them in prison, you can give them the death sentence as an option as well. But we destroy the own reason for our existence when we project our military abroad and subordinate the rule of law to national security after what I consider a criminal danger, nothing like Hitler, Hirohito, and otherwise.